So, Christine, take us behind the scenes here. What is it that a college admission officer sees when they're looking at students' applications and how they're engaging with the college?
Absolutely. And thanks for asking to kind of pull back the curtain and see behind how the magic happens. I
Exactly.
want to preface that what I'm about to show is not the same at every college. The tool that Southwestern uses is a tool that lots and lots of colleges use. It is a great admission CRM data management program, but it is not used by every college in the country. So, truth in the room. So let me hop over and share and make this full screen. All right, you're seeing a full screen. Do I need to blow it up at all?
We're good.
All right. So I want to let you know I am not revealing anything in a way about a student that anybody should be concerned about. This is my own child who is now through graduate school. But my children know that the unfortunate part of their mother being the assistant vice president of admission is that their records often get shown to the whole world when I do presentations like this. But let me introduce the audience to a CRM called Slate. And this is the opening screen of Slate, for which we can see a whole lot of information about a student. And while the framework is the same, what all colleges will put on their front screen may be slightly different from school to school. But the part that is by chance the most impactful with the conversation we've been having today is this activity history space right here, and maybe this events section that you see kind of right over here. And so when we've talked about in the podcast, the ability for me to see demonstrated interest over a span of time, this activity history is actually a visual representation of that. So for the audience that may not be able to read these smaller words, the gray dot is something called an interaction. The purple dot is something called an event. And you see here one or two little purple dots kind of squeezed in. The pink dot says login every time they've logged into their personal admission portal. An email has been sent and an email has been clicked. And so this is a visual representation. And you notice that we started with Savannah way back in 2014 and went with her through 2021 in a couple of different ways. And so that is one side of the way that we can see different interests and how we've communicated with and or a student may have learned more about it. You see here that Savannah attended a visit day on our campus and attended a educational event within her home community to learn more. So she raised her hand by going to those opportunities. You see that we have sent her some information. She was sent a letter from our president to us as parents. She received a letter from folks, a staff member that worked in the development office, and then she actually took a class. And so that last comment is about a class. So that is one way that we look and see how students are interacting with us. Here's a second way. So this is a student's timeline. And this word right here says interactions. And when we track on that, and let me take one element out. Those are all considered sources. What you will see is that we first got to know this student when she attended a college fair. She filled out an inquiry card at a college fair in 2013. And then we began our communication stream with her, and you can see all the different things that we sent to her between 2013 and 2018. So a pretty broad span of time. We sent her a holiday card in an email, and then she opened it. We sent her an invitation to a NACAC fair. Once she had actually applied, let's see if I can find that really quick. Here we go. Application submitted in 2016. We sent her instructions on how to get to her personal admission portal. And then she actually clicked on that item. It became more important to her along the way. Every time we sent her a message to the portal, those got clicked on. And so we've tracked, here's her interview that she conducted. We've sent her different parts and pieces and invitations to events along the way. So we can begin to see how that happened. Let me find one here that we clicked. We can go back and see, what was that message? If the parent called and said, we received an email that talked about this, we can actually look back and see what that message was. And I can even dig deeper to understand where she opened it, when she opened it, whether it was on her phone, in what capacity, how long did she read it. So this back and forth interaction element allows me to see how interested this student may be. And I know in the podcast we referenced, what if you live far away? How can you demonstrate interest? The fact that she has opened and clicked on various things tells me that she's engaged. She's learning from the materials that we are sending her via email. So those can be all really real positive attributes. When she attended these events, those were positive attributes. And remember, she attended an event in her hometown, so she did not have to go to the school in order to raise that hand and show things along the way. So here's kind of a basic overview of what we see. Ethan, what sort of questions does this generate for you?
One question I have is this a situation, sometimes students feel like they're starting at 100% and colleges are dinging them if they don't do X, Y, Z, and Q. Another way of looking at it, of course, is we're starting from a 0 point, and anything students do kind of adds to that.
Yeah.
Which would you say, if we're putting it just on this binary, is this more of a situation of counting up from 0, or is this more of a situation of colleges counting down?
Say it's more of a meeting in the middle. I recognize that email is not where high school students generally live. And different institutions are going to use different communication methods and track different communication methods. Maybe we're sending you a text, and maybe instead of an email relationship, I have more of a relationship with you on text, which is where students live a lot. How would a college potentially build that in and track that can vary from institution to institution. And so I think it's probably a meeting in the middle. I'm trying to pull you my way. You're trying to live in your space. And how are we finding that middle ground? Remembering from the podcast, there are different ways that you can demonstrate your learning knowledge and your interest in the school. It doesn't always have to be my way. Sometimes I have to find you in your space and we collaborate together.
It seems to me, Christine, we looking at the green and blue circles here. You've got email sent green and email clicked blue. That a low lift thing that students can do is actually clicking some emails and getting on the website. You noted on the podcast that there are some schools that even track how much time students spend on the website, but that seems to be a pretty simple actionable thing that students can do,
and free. It doesn't cost anybody anything except for a little bit of time. Yeah. And you can do this on the couch while you're watching a movie and even be multitasking. And so, yes, we're trying to give you lots of knowledge. Mm-hmm. How can this help you learn more to either be able to say, yes, let's continue on this relationship, or to demonstrate that no, which is also completely and totally okay.
Yeah. And probably helpful to colleges in some cases.
Well, sure, because it allows me to realize I don't need to knock on your door anymore. Right. I don't need to text you. You have moved on to find your happy space, and that is fantastic. That's all of our goals, ultimately.
The other thing that I want to make mention of, and you talk about this in the podcast a little bit, but in terms of those events, there are events that are in person, but I imagine that a lot of the events now, or there are a variety of events that colleges are putting on. So students, as you're looking at this, don't think of events being necessarily only in person. There are so many virtual ways. So for those of you who feel like, well, I can't visit or I'm too far away, there are lots of opportunities there too.
Yeah, unfortunately, Savannah's college experience was pre-pandemic, and so things were much more important. If I would have pulled up my son's record, he was a COVID college search. And so you would have seen many more virtual opportunities at different phases in his record, and we would see those noted accordingly as well. I thank you for bringing up the virtual experience, a great way to demonstrate your learning, a great way to engage, especially if you are far away, and a great way for you to learn more about that college.
Christine, this is great. Thanks.
You're very welcome.